Right, hello boys and girls. Welcome to the second episode of Work on It Wednesdays. We are busy working through this grade 11 question paper book. We started last week in episode 1 working through some solve for X type questions. We worked up until number 1.5. So today I'm going to start at question 1.6. Right, now question 1.6 is x squared plus 8x is equal to 4. By completion of the square and leaving your answer in simplified surd form. Surd form is just root form when the roots are not rational. They're rational when they are perfect squares, like the square root of 36 is a rational number, that's a root, but the square root of 37 is irrational, and then the whole expression is just called a surd. So you can just leave it in surd form, which is just the root form, technically. Okay, so I'm going to do completion of the square, and if all of you grade 11s haven't done this in class yet, don't worry. You'll come to that and you can just come back to this, but the matrics will know of this already. Some of your grade 11s might have done this already, but if you don't know about this yet, don't freak out, just come back to it later again. Right, completing this square, I want this to be x plus something squared that gives me x plus 8x plus something, right? Now, obviously, x plus 4 would give me the, if I think about two brackets that being the same, multiplied with one another, giving me this middle term, I would have x plus 4 squared. But this, if I multiply this out, multiplies out to x squared plus 4x, which is 8x, plus 16, the 4 times 4. I'm just imagining this bracket being here twice, right? So plus 16. Now, can you see that this is 16 more than that? So I'm working a bit backwards now to just also sort of explain to the people who doesn't know how this works yet. I must just, if I add 16 to this side, I must just add 16 to this side also. Right. Okay, and then 4 plus 16 is 20. Okay, so for the people who doesn't know completing the square yet, this is basically just what happens. I just want to force this to be a perfect square, but if I do that, I actually add 16 to this side, and then I must just do that. Okay, the better way to do that is, if I want to add something this side to make this a perfect square, I take half of that, because if you look about, this will be half of that, and then this squared will be that. So I take half of my b value, and I square that, and that is what I add on both sides. Okay, so I added this, the 16, half of 8, my b, half of 8 is 4, and that squared is 16, so I added that both sides, and then this thing inside the bracket without being square is just the number that comes here in my perfect square then, and this side I just simplify. Okay, and then I can take the square root both sides, so that I have this. Okay, just remember to take a plus minus both when you take the square root. And this, to simplify this to a simple surd form without a calculator, I'm just going to take the 4 over also. But to simplify this one without a calculator, I must rewrite it in prime factor form. You know what prime factor form is? It is that thing that you did in primary school. Divided by 2 is 10, divided by 2 is 5, divided by 5 is 1. So I'm just going to write this into 2 squared times 5, and the 2 squared I can take out then, because the root of 2 squared is just 2. But the 5 stays under the root. Okay, and then my x is equal minus 4 plus 2 root 5, or minus 4 minus 2 root 5. Right. Okay, let's look at 1.7. I've got x squared plus 4 is equal to 0, and this is 1 mark. Right. Now you can try and factorize this, but there's no sum of squares thing. There's no real, none of the methods that you know will factorize this. If you try doing this, maybe you will immediately see this is a contradiction, right? X squared is always positive because positive times positive numbers is positive, and negative times negative numbers is also positive, and 0 times 0 is 0. So there's nothing that I can substitute in x that will make this a negative number, which just simply means x does not exist. There is no possible values for which this equation has a solution because this is a contradictory statement for real values. Okay, and then 1.8 says x squared plus 5x minus 6 must be bigger than 0. X squared plus 5x minus 6 is bigger than 0. Right, now I can simply solve for x like I usually do when there's an equal sign. You can factorize this. This should be 6 and 1 minus 6, no, plus 6 minus 1. If you're unsure about factorizing trinomials still, and you think you still need a bit of work on that, under basic knowledge and concepts, I've got a video on factorizing. And I think there's also a video specifically on factorizing trinomials. So if you're still uncertain about that, go to the playlist on my channel, Basic Concepts and Knowledge, and then just go watch that video on factorizing trinomials where I explain this properly. Now, instead of when I have an equal sign, or this is an equation, this will just simply be x is equal to minus 6 or x is equal to 1. Right, but now since this is not an equal sign, I must use the critical points method to solve this. So these are not my solutions, they're just critical points that I'm going to use to solve. So I'm going to use the visual method, but if you use another method and you get the same answer, that's 100% right. So this is this without that. This is a parabola, and since my a value is positive, my parabola looks like this, and my critical values would be my x-intercepts would be minus 6 and 1. I'm looking for where this parabola is bigger than 0, which means this bit and this bit. And that happens where x is smaller than minus 6 and bigger than 1. Right, so x is smaller than minus 6 or x is bigger than 1. Right, and if you are wondering when to put smaller than and when to put smaller or equal than, this will be smaller than and bigger than when that is just smaller than or bigger than. It would both just be smaller than and bigger than. But if the 0 is included here, so if there's an equal sign, then you would put equal signs on both of these also. Right, and then the last one, question 1.9. I'm just going to make space for it. Question 1.9 is a fraction problem. Let's just make a little bit of space. All right. Okay. So this is for 7 marks. Wow. It seems like this is going to be so long, but please don't ever get discouraged when you get questions of 7 marks and just leave it open. Because sometimes it's not that it's so difficult that it needs to be that many marks. Sometimes it's just that it's It's just a lot of work, but it might be easy, a lot of work. Right, so at least try something. Don't freak out and just leave it open. Got me? Right. Okay, now if I look at these denominators, there's the x plus 1 and there's the x plus 1. So if I multiply this throughout by x plus 1, I'm going to get rid of these two. So I'm going to multiply by x plus 1 throughout. And then I also need to multiply by x minus 2 to get rid of that. Right, so if I multiply this fraction, I think I should just write that for you there in another color. If I multiply this fraction with x minus 1, x plus 1, x minus 2, sorry, x minus 2 and x plus 1, this one with x minus 2 and x plus 1, this with x minus 2 and x plus 1. And I'm just going to put brackets around these also so that you can see this is I'm seeing as one number, right? Here the x plus 1 and the x plus 1 will cancel out. There the x minus 2 and the x minus 2 will cancel out. The x plus 1 and the x plus 1 will cancel out. Right. And then I'm just left with the top one. So everything is now over 1, which is just the top ones then. So x minus 2 times x plus 2 minus, and then 3 times x plus 1 is equal to x minus 2. 1 times x minus 2 is just as x minus 2. Okay. And then this is not difficult. It's just a lot of work because I must multiply this out, sort everything out. It's really not difficult. It's just a lot of work. Right, so you can pause the video and multiply all of them out if you need to figure it out slowly. I'm just going to multiply them out quickly here on my own and just bring everything to this side because there's an x squared there, right? This is just grade 9 work actually, so I'm just going to simplify this a little bit, but if you need to take time and look at the step and look at the step, you can pause the video and look at them. Minus 3 plus 2, no, minus 7 plus 2. And look at them one step at a time until you get to there. But I'm sure this is pretty basic math, so I'm sure you can do that. Right, and then I'm just going to factorize, and yet again, if you're uncertain about factorizing, x squared minus 5x plus 5x plus 1x minus 5, right? If you're uncertain about factorizing, there's a video, basic knowledge and concepts, under that playlist about trinomial factorizing, and you can have a look at that. Okay, and then from this, x is equal to 5 or x is equal to minus 1. Right, see you next week again for Work on It Wednesdays. Next week, Wednesday, we will be starting on question 2, which has something about simultaneous equations in it, and then also a little bit of exponential and root problems. I love exponential problems, so I'm very excited for next week. See you next week. Bye.